Welcome to my purpose talk. And David inquire of the Lord. So if you read through the Old Testament, you will see that there are many instances in the Bible whereby that statement was made, and David inquired of the Lord. So it is the year 2024. My people, have you inquired of God? Did you ask God what He will have you do this year? Or did you just set your goals, plan how to achieve them, and you left God out of the equation? So, the Bible speaking to us in Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 15, that the labor of fools weary them, for they don't know how to get to the city. So, how do fools labor? The building of the Tower of Babel was the labor of fools. Why? Because they were trying to do what was not in the will of God for them, and God created confusion in their midst, and they began to babble. They did not understand themselves anymore, and that was the end of the project. So in this year, as you begin 2024, inquire of the Lord. Ask Him what He will have you do in the year 2024. Know the plans and purpose of God for your life and ask Him for guidance so that you can plan around it, so that you will not labor the labor of fools. Say to yourself that I will not labor the labor of fools in the year 2024. And you know something about not laboring the labor of fools is that you could be doing legitimate things, there could even be spiritual things, and they might not be in line with God's plans and purpose for your life at that time. You can see in Acts chapter 16 that Paul was sensitive enough to the Spirit to know that he wasn't supposed to go to Asia to preach the gospel at that time. But in Acts chapter 19, we can see that Paul preached in Asia, that is in Ephesus. So in Acts chapter 16, the Holy Spirit restricted Paul and his company from going to Asia to preach the gospel. But in Acts chapter 19, Paul was allowed to preach the gospel. He was in Asia. Obviously, it was time for him to preach the gospel in Asia. So Paul would have, if he was not sensitive to the voice of the Holy Spirit, perhaps he would have gone to Asia to preach at that time, and he would have seen that it wasn't the time that God has, ordained for him to be in Asia. Only God knows what would have happened. So as a child of God, you can't be doing so many things. You can't be doing just anything. You have to be doing the will of God for your life. And so even though you might have one or two things that you want to do, bring it before God and ask God, these are my plans for 2024. Should I go ahead with them? Or perhaps you don't even have any plans yet. Come to God and say, God, this is 2024. This is your plans and purpose for my life. How should I go about planning for this year? And God will guide you. And the reason why you want to inquire of the Lord is to be safe. Being in the will of God is the safest place to be. You can't try to do things outside the will of God, because as a believer, one thing that we are here on earth to do is to achieve the purpose of God for our lives. And so when we come to God to know His plans and purpose for our life, it is important that we keep checking with God, seeing that we are in line with what He will have us do, because God's assignment for your life in this season might be different from His assignment for your life in the next season of your life. So you must keep inquiring, you must keep checking, you must keep knowing that this is what God will have me to do, and you must keep doing them. So it's not too late to go back to God and say, Father, what would you have me do? And as He tells you, obey. What's the point of asking without obeying? Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video blesses you. Bye.